Most schools are heading back to in-person learning, so we wanted to get your families prepared. Joining me now is Dr. Gary Kirkilas with the American Academy of Pediatrics. Doctor, thank you so much for being with us.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Now, first off, I'm sure you've seen an interruption in care for kids at this time. So how important is it to get a wellness check before the school year begins?
You know, it's really tremendously important. We've seen so many interruptions during this pandemic, and I understand parents are fearful of coming into the clinic, but in reality, the doctor's clinics are one of the most safest places to be. All of us are masked. Many of us are vaccinated. A lot of clinics will separate sick from well, and this is terribly important because there are many vaccines that children need. The headlines are surely mostly about the COVID vaccine, but there are a lot of vaccines, childhood vaccines that kids really need. You know, there's a reason we don't see kids in wheelchairs with polio anymore. There's reasons we don't see kids being hospitalized with diphtheria. It's all because we have safe, effective vaccines. And the only way to get those is to come to see your pediatrician. So I definitely urge parents to make an appointment. And even if they don't need to have a vaccine visit, just to be able to come in and have their heart and lungs checked, check their eyes, make sure they can see the board for this coming school year. You know, kids in general are quite healthy, but every once in a while we pick something up. And if we pick something up, we can do corrective measures about it. And then the last thing I urge parents is that, you know, have that therapeutic relationship with your pediatrician. All throughout childhood, there's going to be bumps along the road. You know, your 2-year-old's going to have, temper tantrums or be a picky eater. Your teenager might be dealing with some depression or anxiety, and your pediatrician is a great source of medical advice.
Now, doctor, should kids be getting the COVID vaccine before school, and who is eligible for that?
I definitely recommend children getting the COVID vaccine. It is eligible for children 12 years old and up, and it's the same exact vaccine the adults are getting. We have about a year's worth of data that shows it's both safe and effective, and so I definitely recommend it. As you know, most of the hospitalizations that are occurring currently in our nation are with people who are unvaccinated, and vaccination is a great way to protect yourself.
Now, back to school can be a stressful time for kids, so how do we make sure that their mental health is okay?
One of the biggest things we saw during this pandemic when we suddenly switched, I should say, to remote learning is that kids were really starving for that social interaction with their peers. You know, school is not only just a place for kids to learn math and English, but it's also a place for social development. And, you know, when we suddenly remove that and ask kids to be on a screen for 6 hours a day, it's not surprising that we've seen so many children suffering from behavioral health issues like depression and anxiety, or if nothing, clinical like that, just, pure frustration with the situation. So I always tell parents, frequently check in with your children, ask them how it's going. Typically a car ride is a great way to do that because you have a captive audience, and just check in with them, see how is school going, how are your peers doing, and then also to cut them some slack. And we're asking our children to do a lot by doing remote learning. So cut them some slack, give them the opportunity to vent their frustrations. But again, I would say check in with your child frequently.
Doctor, any final last back to school advice that you can share with us for parents?
Again, I would urge parents to make an appointment with their pediatrician. And we've seen a lot of interruptions in care, and that therapeutic alliance between a child and a pediatrician, it's really worth its weight in gold. Can ensure your child will have a happy and healthy school year this year.
Dr. Kirkilas, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for this great advice. If you'd like more back to school tips, just head over to the American Academy of Pediatrics website.